Rain hammered against the abandoned greenhouse, a place once filled with orchids and soft violin music, now reduced to shattered glass, rotting soil, and the lingering metallic scent of secrets. For years, Menglong's fans had known the greenhouse only as the sanctuary, the private retreat he supposedly used for meditation and songwriting. But according to a series of encrypted files leaked on a deep web server, the sanctuary was not a retreat, it was a stage, a set, a meticulously crafted environment for something darker, something engineered, something filmed. Every door inside the structure looked identical, but the footage, if real, revealed that only one led to the room that mattered. It was a door with a faint scratch near the brass handle, the kind you'd miss unless someone told you exactly where to look. That door appeared in nearly every frame of the leaked clip, often shaking, sometimes trembling in a way that suggested force from the other side. The room it led into was small, harshly lit, bare except for a single rust-colored chair bolted to the floor. The chair was not a prop. It bore grooves, stains, and the kind of wear that implied repeated use. The video didn't begin with action. It began with a breath. Wet, ragged, and painfully human. Then the camera shifted, revealing Menglong slumped in the chair, wrists bound with fabric that looked soft but was knotted with surgical precision. Even in low resolution, his eyes were unmistakable, wide, fogged, but aware. There was no blood in these first moments. No yelling. Only the suffocating calm before the kind of storm that reshapes a life. Then a shadow passed across him. Not a person, at least not one who wanted to be identified. Their entire form was obscured, but their movements were chillingly deliberate. They adjusted the lighting, checked angles, and at one point, tilted Menglong's chin upward as if examining a sculpture. The way he flinched, just slightly, suggested familiarity, as if this wasn't the first session. As if this had become routine. A gloved hand appeared in the frame holding an object fans later identified as a studio-grade metronome. It clicked loudly, methodically, echoing through the room like a countdown. With each tick, Menglong's breathing grew sharper. He knew what was coming. The gloved figure lifted a recording tablet, typed something, then pressed a button. A strip of LED lights along the ceiling turned from white to red. That shift marked the beginning. At first, the torture in the video wasn't physical. It was psychological. They played distorted audio of his own voice, lines pulled from dramas, interviews, and behind-the-scenes clips. Except the pitch was warped. Words repeated. Phrases looped. Compliments became commands. Laughter became static. The audio created an illusion of Menglong talking to himself, arguing, doubting, breaking. He shook his head violently, trying to shut it out, but the gloved figure simply increased the volume. Then came the lights. The red LEDs began pulsing in patterns designed to disorient the brain. Studies have shown it can trigger panic, vertigo, or emotional collapse, and the footage captured that effect in real time. Menglong's eyes fluttered, then squeezed shut, then opened again with visible distress. He kept whispering something, though the camera mic struggled to catch it. Some claimed he was saying stop. Others insisted it was not again. The figure finally approached him with something that looked like a thin metallic stylus. Not a weapon, at least not a conventional one. The stylus emitted a faint humming vibration, and when they held it near his temple, his entire body tensed. It never touched him, but the implication was enough. The fear it induced was enough. He shook uncontrollably, muscles twitching as if expecting unbearable pain at any second. But the stylus still didn't touch him. The real cruelty lay in the anticipation. Minutes, long, brutal minutes, passed with the stylus hovering just millimeters from his skin. Menglong's breathing spiraled. Tears streamed down his face, not because of pain, but because of the mental strain. The gloved figure recorded him closely, as though gathering data. When he finally broke, when he finally screamed, the stylus was withdrawn instantly. It had never been about harming him. It had been about capturing the moment he thought he would be harmed. Then the physical torment began. Not in the way viewers expected, not brutal, not graphic, but insidious. They placed ice directly on pulse points, wrists, temples, the back of his neck. Extended exposure to freezing temperatures can trigger nerve pain sharp enough to mimic electric shock. His skin reddened. His voice cracked. He begged, barely audible, for warmth. The gloved figure ignored him completely. A bucket of water appeared next, but not for drowning. Instead, they poured it slowly over his bare feet, then turned on a hidden industrial fan position behind the camera. The mixture of water and cold air caused immediate spasms. He jerked so hard the chair rattled. His head tilted back, hitting the metal frame. Still, no response from the figure. The session escalated. They introduced metallic rods chilled to sub-zero temperatures. These were pressed lightly, never forcefully, along his arms and collarbone. The freezing contact pulled involuntary gasps from him, each sharper than the last. His teeth chattered so violently that several fans speculated he chipped one during the ordeal. At one point, he tried to twist free. A desperate attempt. The fabric restraints cut into his skin, leaving dark marks. The gloved figure paused, placed a hand on his shoulder, and pushed him gently back into position. The calmness of the gesture contrasted so disturbingly with the scene that many viewers considered this moment the most unsettling part of the entire video. Then came the final act. The lights turned blue. The metronome stopped. The audio fell silent. The gloved figure leaned close to him, too close, and whispered something directly into his ear. Whatever they said caused a reaction unlike any other in the clip. His entire body stiffened, eyes widening in pure terror. He shook his head violently, repeating a muffled no again and again. The figure stepped back and lifted a small object toward the camera, a silver USB stick. They weren't torturing him for pleasure. They were extracting something. Information. Confession. Access. Control. Whatever it was, Menglong clearly knew exactly what they wanted, and dreaded it more than the cold, more than the stylus, more than the psychological assault. He refused at first. The figure tightened their grip on the USB stick, holding it like a threat. Then the video cut to black. A single frame flickered before disappearing. A close-up of his face, defeated. Silent. Broken. Whether the footage was staged, coerced, manipulated, or real remains unknown. But its impact was undeniable. It rewrote everything we thought we knew about the sanctuary, about his sudden behavioral changes, about the fear in his eyes during his last public appearance. Whatever happened in that room was not an accident. And someone somewhere wanted the world to know. The leaked footage was only 12 minutes long, but investigators who analyzed the metadata insisted the original session had lasted over 3 hours. That meant the world had seen only a fraction, only the tamest sliver, of what happened to Menglong that night in the sanctuary. And when the continuation files inadvertently surfaced on a dead server for less than 6 minutes before vanishing again, they confirmed one horrifying truth. Part 1 had only shown the prelude. The new footage opened not with Menglong in the chair, but with the corridor outside it. The camera shook slightly as the person recording walked forward, their footsteps soft, almost weightless, like someone accustomed to moving without being detected. Each step echoed in a way that suggested the room was larger than it appeared in the earlier video, like the sanctuary had secret wings, hidden chambers, and entire architecture beneath the surface. The corridor lighting flickered intermittently, exposing stains on the concrete walls that looked like mineral deposits but felt suspiciously too deliberate, as if painted to create an atmosphere of dread. A faint humming sound vibrated through the walls, mechanical yet rhythmic, something that felt alive in its consistency. As the camera advanced, the humming grew louder. The door with the scratch, the one that haunted viewers in Part 1, came into focus again. But this time, something was different. The scratch had multiplied. Instead of a single thin mark, viewers counted at least 9 fresh lines, each jagged, frantic, carved desperately into the wood. It wasn't aging. It wasn't accidental. It looked like the frantic record of someone who had tried to escape, someone who used their fingernails until they broke. The camera paused, zooming in slowly, almost reverently, as if documenting evidence. The silence deepened. The humming behind the walls became faint, overshadowed by something else, breathing. Not the exhausted, strained breaths we saw earlier, but panicked breathing, irregular, trembling, and close enough that the microphone crackled from the force of it. The person breathing was behind the door. A soft whimper broke through. The person holding the camera did not rush to open the door. Instead, they adjusted the focus, correcting the blur, as if taking their time was part of the ritual. The whimper shifted into a low, muffled plea, almost indistinguishable, but fans later claimed it was Menglong's voice, whispering one repeated phrase. "Don't start again, please don't start again." This was not the defiant man from his dramas. Not the playful, warm figure seen during fan meetings. His voice was hollowed out. Bare. Stripped of performance. The camera lingered on the door handle, watching it tremble as if something, or someone, inside was leaning against it with fading strength. Then suddenly everything went still. The humming stopped. The breathing stopped. Even the air itself seemed to pause. And then click. The door unlocked from the outside. The recording did not show the person behind the camera entering the room immediately. Instead, they stood motionless, letting the slow creak of the door fill the silence. A wave of cold air spilled out, fogging the camera lens briefly. When the image cleared, Menglong came into view again. He was still bound to the chair. But the position was different from part 1. Earlier, he had slumped forward in exhaustion, but now he sat unnaturally upright, as if propped or forced to hold posture. His eyes were open but unfocused, staring forward at nothing, as though his mind were holding onto the last threads of awareness. The red lights were no longer active. The room glowed with dim blue illumination, the color clinical, cold, and lifeless. Shadows clung to every corner, stretching across the floor like veins. A new device had been added. Suspended directly above Menglong's head was a cylindrical apparatus emitting a soft but constant tone. Not loud, not painful, just persistent. The kind of tone that worms into the ear canal and makes silence impossible. It pulsed every 5 seconds, like a heartbeat. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Each pulse made Menglong flinch slightly, small, involuntary twitches that suggested the sound was tied to something deeper than just hearing. The camera zoomed in. His pupils were dilated. His lips trembled. His fingers flexed and unflexed as if fighting invisible restraints. The gloved figure stepped into the frame again. But this time, they carried 2 objects, a journal and a small flashlight. The flashlight wasn't used for illumination. It was used to force eye contact. The figure shone it directly into Menglong's eyes, watching his pupils shrink under the intensity. He winced, but he did not turn away. Or perhaps he couldn't. The figure then opened the journal to a page filled with handwritten notes, scribbles, arrows, timestamps, behavioral reactions. The writing was rushed, obsessive, the handwriting of someone who wasn't documenting, but experimenting. The camera operator panned to the notes just long enough for viewers to catch 2 chilling lines. Subject resistance in decline. Memory disruption protocol active. The figure touched Menglong's face, not violently, but with a slow, eerie gentleness that made the action infinitely more disturbing. They lifted his chin, examined his eyes, checked his pulse. It was deliberate, clinical, cold. Then they whispered, "Do you remember the question?" The tone was soft, almost coaxing. Menglong's body stiffened. His throat muscles tightened. He tried to speak, but no sound came out, only a rasp of fear. The figure leaned in, repeating more slowly. "Do you remember what you were supposed to reveal?" The camera zoomed in on the journal again, showing a circled phrase written in capital letters. Access phrase. Fans erupted online, speculating that this access